Paige, I have wanted to interview you for so long.
I don't think I'd be able to handle this amount of people not liking me.
When you're walking into that house, that's intimidating.
Beyond.
Lindsay and Carl, did you know that was going to happen?
Did they grow apart?
Do you think Craig is going to want you to move? When Hannah got...
Why'd she get kicked off?
Got fired. I'm trying to see if there's something I've never said before.
Something scandalous.
He likes the juice.
There we go.
Wow.
It was intense.
Paige, I have wanted to interview you for so long.
I feel like I followed you for so long.
I mean, right when I saw you on Summer House, I'm like, she has it.
Wait, because I have all of your products, obviously, because...
I brought you balls.
Okay, wait, I need the drops.
The drop? Yeah, of course.
Okay, because I was like, wait, how do I not have these drops?
We'll get you the drops. Because
Okay.
you're flying to Southern Charm. You gotta
how did I not know this was a thing?
She needs the drops.
I need the drops.
I have wanted to interview you since I saw you on the show. There's something to me as a viewer that was really sparkly about you.
Thank you.
When you came in the house, it was like a sparkly energy. And I literally said to Michael, she's going to be famous.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
You just
It's
have
true.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have
the sauce.
Yeah, it's the sauce. It's the swagger.
Yeah,
it's
you gotta have the sauce.
Yeah, you just have it. So now to have you on the podcast is like very full circle. I want to go back to before you were famous.
Mm-hmm.
What were you like when you were little?
Probably the same. I loved attention and napping. I was always a great sleeper. So when I was younger, I was actually a child model. So that's
Limited to.
I was limited to Easy Bake Oven. I did, when I was 12, 13, I did all teen novel covers. So anything on the reading list that summer, I was typically on the cover. It was very surreal. But at that time, I never wanted anyone to know. So no one knew I modeled my whole life, probably until I was in 6th or 7th grade when Limited 2 came out. Because every girl got that to their house before school started. So I was a child model and I didn't really ever do sports or anything. That was kind of my thing. And that's how I fell in love with New York City and knew okay, one day I'm going to move to New York City. I thought I was going to be a model. And then I'm 5'3", so that wasn't happening.
Wait, where did you grow up though?
I grew up in upstate New York in Albany.
Okay.
So my mom would drive me down. She would pull me out of school, drive me down 2 hours. I would do stuff. And then I would go back home.
Maybe that's why this is really weird. You sort of looked familiar to me.
Yeah, I got a lot of that.
I can't put my finger on it, but Easy Bake Oven, Limited 2, these are all things I had. I'm flashing back. Maybe there was a familiarness about you.
Because Limited 2, that was the Bible when that got delivered to your house.
I have no idea what Limited 2 is. I'm trying to keep up.
Men would never get the feeling. Now I think about it, if Limited 2 was still around, I feel I'd go in that store and buy everything. Because you would go into a trance when you were younger. And
the blow-up couch?
I can't.
The sticker machine?
The phone that you could see all the wires inside. Just everything.
I know those things. I know the wire phone.
No, Michael, don't try to get on board with Limited 2. You literally
I'll be
don't
right
have
back.
any idea.
I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Okay, so other than modeling, going to school, what was your childhood like? You're very close with your mother.
Yep, extremely close with my family. Like I said, I grew up in upstate New York, and I have an older brother. We're very Italian. My mom's 100% Italian, so very close-knit. And I was really the first one to move away. And you would have thought I moved across the country to a different country. I moved 2.5 hours away. But it was a big adjustment. And my mom kind of had to convince my dad after I graduated college to let me go. And my dad said, okay, you have a year in New York City. And if you don't figure it out in a year, you're coming home. And so when I first moved here for the first 6 months, I did nothing. I partied. I went out. I was because I lived at home for college. So I had never been on my own. And then I got a job at ABC News. And that was my first job. And I always wanted to be a broadcast journalist and thought I was going to be a news reporter.
You kind of are in a way now a news reporter.
Right. But that then it was you moved to the middle of nowhere. You did it yourself. And on a farm. And I was I'm not doing that.
No.
I have to move to New York. And that was like right when Instagram was like, people were getting Instagram famous. And I was like, I feel like I could do this. And so I worked as an assistant for like 2 years. And then that's when I got the opportunity for Summer House.
Did you always know when you were little that you were sort of destined for fame because of the modeling and you're moving to New York City? Like you strike me as someone who has sort of like a natural confidence.
I will say I loved like being the center of attention. Like in my household, like I'd be up on the kitchen table, like singing and dancing and being like, Mom, record me. And I would always be like on my True Hollywood story. Like, this is what they're going to say. So like growing up, I always thought like, oh, maybe I'll be like an actress or I'll be something. And then as I got older, I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to be famous, but I like the camera stuff. So that's why I went for broadcast journalism. Never in my wildest did I ever want to be on a reality TV show or thought that I would be on a reality TV show at all. Like even when I got it, I was like, absolutely not.
Why?
I can't do that. For like how confident I think I am and try to be, I feel like I'm equally as sensitive. And the first thing that popped in my head was like, I don't think I'd be able to handle this amount of people not liking me if that were to happen. And so I was really scared about that. And my dad gave me the best advice. He said, look, do it for 1 year. And if you hate it, you never have to do it again. I'll get you out of it. Like, don't worry about whatever contract you're signing. I'll get you out of it.
How's your dad do?
No, literally. I don't think he could have, but like just your dad saying that, you're like, okay, like my dad will figure it out.
I will take care of getting out of that ironclad contract.
Basically, that's what he said. He was like, I'll take care of it. And then, but he was like, but if you don't do it, you'll never know. Like, you don't want to look back and be like, what if I did that show? And so that's why I did it.
So are you approached by Bravo, or is it something you like audition for, or does someone recommend you? How does the process work?
It's more of a casting company reaches out to a bunch of people. So like Summerhouse hired this casting company. I think they found like a bunch of just girls' Instagrams in New York, and they had reached out to one of my girlfriends at the time and interviewed her and asked her, you know, like, do you have any other friends that you think would be good for the show? And she gave my name. I did an interview, and then I heard nothing, like silence. And I was like, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. I wasn't meant to get this. I feel fine that I didn't get it. And then it was June, like 2 weeks before the show was starting. I was packing to like go away for a wedding with my boyfriend, like my boyfriend who was like at the time wasn't my boyfriend, but it was going to be. And they called me and they were like, look, we had 2 girls drop out and we want you to film this show, but you have to sign a contract today if you want to do it.
Ooh, that's a tactic.
Full on tactic, but I didn't know that then. I was 25. So I was like, okay. So I called my parents, told them what happened, signed it, and then started packing for my first weekend of Summer House. Had no like idea what was going to happen. No, like even inkling. Didn't really even know anyone on the show.
When you're walking into that house,
Yeah.
That's intimidating.
Beyond.
But I also
Do
think
they film every minute
Second.
of every day? They do. Okay.
Summer House is 24/7 surveillance.
they're filming when you're like
There's
in the
no-
bathroom.
There's no area to like go away and escape.
There are no cameras in the bathroom, but if you're in the bathroom with another person, they can come in. But there's not surveillance in the bathroom.
So it's kind of real world.
It's very real world. Yeah. So that's why when like the Southern Charm guys came and filmed Winter House, they were like, what is this? Because we're never not filming.
Because they're used to just doing like
They're used to
Okay.
filming and then you go home at night and then that's it. You'll film again the next day. But once we step foot in the house, that's it. We're filmed until we leave.
And is it like an environment where as it goes on, you just kind of almost forget that you're being
100%. And whenever I would hear reality TV people say that, like, oh, you forget the cameras are there, I'd be like, you're stupid. Like, well, then open your eyes. Like, I was like, there's no way that happens.
I would be mewing the whole time.
In the first weekend, I forgot that they were there.
How?
You just kind of get like accustomed to people being around. And I will say, when I first walked into the house, I didn't think about there being lights. Like, I just didn't think about it, but there's lights all on the ceiling because they have
That's nice,
to
though, because you get a
Right.
little filter.
But isn't it when you
Great
go in the
lighting.
bedrooms, there's like not even, it's like just like surveillance cameras, no? Or am
Yeah.
I thinking that wrong?
No, they're in the corner. And so when I first walked in,
That's where I would forget. I'd be like, there's no way. I wouldn't
yeah,
remember
and
that.
like at like 10 p.m., the big camera guys, like that's it. They're done.
And
But
then it's just the surveillance.
and then it's just surveillance.
When you walk into the house though, and there's all these like girls and dynamics and like it's like an onion in there.
Yeah.
What was your plan to walk in, and then what was it actually like walking in?
I had zero plan because I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know if someone was going to like tell me what to do. So when I pull up to the house, they like put a mic on me and they're like, okay, go. And I go where though? They're like, go into the house. And I was like, and do what? And they were like, what? Like, just go. And so you walk in and you kind of wait for someone to say hi to you. In the first, I would say 30 minutes, I went into the bathroom and I called my mom and I said, I think I'm going to faint. Like, I shouldn't have done this. This is not for me. I don't like it at all.
I relate to you. This is how I would react.
And she was like, okay, just you get through for like this weekend and then you don't have to go back. Like, you won't go back. And by the end of the weekend, I had met like Hannah and I was like, no, this feels right. There's something about her. This is like going to be my best friend forever.
Hannah was comfortable.
Yeah. Hannah was like for sure my security blanket through it.
Who was not comfortable? I mean, we can see when we watch, but who was not comfortable to you?
Well, I think because the show, it wasn't the first season. Nide came on for the third season and they were having problems with the second season. They kind of needed new people. I felt just like a little bit of an energy from the first season people of like, okay, who are you? Who do you think you are coming onto our show? Which now, looking back, I get for sure. But it was definitely intimidating because they all knew what was going on. And it's kind of like when you're in high school, like there's seniors and then the freshmen come in and you're like, you don't know anything.
Exactly.
And that's exactly how it felt. So you kind of felt like you had to earn your place on the cast. And me and Hannah got so close. Sometimes I almost felt like, oh, do they resent that we got so close or like that people like us? And so it's a very tricky dynamic to like navigate.
There's also an undertone that I feel as a viewer of hierarchy, like behind the scenes.
For sure.
I can feel like there's like the king of the castle.
Yeah.
It's like Game of Thrones vibes. Like, but that's not showcased on television. You can just tell like certain people are put on a pedestal more.
Lauren's got
others.
a notepad out when this stuff's going
I
on.
fucking love it.
No,
This is
I've always said that there should be a reality show about the people that make reality shows. Because our COVID season that we were like all locked in the house together, our whole crew like was fighting and wasn't talking to each other. So producers would come in and be like, okay, like what's going on? And I'd be like, no, what's going on with you guys? Because it doesn't seem like you're speaking. They like wouldn't tell us because, you know, they're not like our real like legit friends. Like technically they're like our producers. But so we would never know the gossip, but we could tell like, something was happening.
But also there's an energy within the cast that you can feel off camera. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always say like, it's like any group of friends. If you get 12 people in a room, obviously certain people are going to be closer to other people. Like it's not, you know, it's not like we're all going to be best friends all the time.
Lauren, we would be an absolute disaster. We go to a party for an hour and a half and leave as quickly.
That's what I would be in the bed. That's why I'd be in the bed watching Summer House.
No, that's
it would be like, Michael, you're staying in this house for 12 hours with the same people. I'm like, listen, I usually am out. I ghost. I do the Irish goodbye. Hour and a half. People are wondering what happened to this guy.
And people will always say like, how do you guys not get hungover? Like we never see you guys hungover. And I'm like, you complain about me being in the bed. That's me being hungover. Like we're drinking all weekend.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I need like a minute.
Why do they complain about you being in the bed?
Oh God, let's write a thesis on this. Hold on, Michael, you got to get with it.
We could write a whole
because I will watch the show, but I maybe not up to the point of like the follow-up of people being
kind of just like the, I don't want to say it's the persona they gave me because I am in fact the one in the bed. But they've like anytime we're gossiping or whatever, all the girls, we just like get in the bed and talk. Because there's just so many places in the house you can go.
What are you going to do too? Go like sit on the couch and like cross your legs with a spot of tea? Like you're at home essentially. Like I can see why
now
you're
that
in
I've
bed.
met you though, I got this weird thing where like I can't get fully vested until I meet the person.
Yeah.
Now you're vested.
And
now,
yeah, like
now
whenever-
Such a
going back
liar, though. He's
season
such a
one.
peripheral
Whenever
watcher.
somebody
Such a liar.
comes on that is on one of these shows,
Yeah.
and I will watch and I will
Right.
view as a casual viewer.
He
But
likes
when I meet someone now, I'm
juice.
going to be screaming at the TV and
Right.
yelling. And if somebody comments, I'm going to be like, "Hey, what the fuck are you talking about?" You know what I mean?
She just needs her rest.
Yeah,
People
Goes
do
to
get
bed.
viscerally mad that you're in the bed, though. It's like hysterical.
It's so, honestly though, if that's the worst thing, then I'll take it.
You're going to
Like,
see me in the
if
comment
that-
section fighting with people now.
If that's what they're the most mad at me for, like, fine.
On the show, I feel like you're the voice of reason, like
Thank you.
logic, maybe.
I try sometimes, but there are definitely times where I've like regretted certain things I've said, or like you get just caught up in the moment. But I try and look at every situation a little bit more logically.
Yes, sometimes I'm even like, wow, you held your tongue.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how she held her tongue.
There are some times too, yeah, where I'm like, I could have gone harder.
Are you like thoughtful and like strategic when it comes to that? Or is there no strategy and you just show up as yourself?
The holidays are here, some of the most stressful times of the year. Nothing worse than not knowing what to get your loved ones, which is why I am here to help and why I love our partner Sunglass Hut so much. I think the first time I went into a Sunglass Hut, I must have been 12, 13, 14 years old, really young. And I have such fond memories of going into the stores and grabbing my Ray-Bans, my Wayfarers, and my Aviators. I still wear them to this day. And if you're stumped on what to get your loved ones this holiday season, think about an amazing pair of sunglasses. Like I said, I don't think you can go wrong with a pair of Aviators from Ray-Ban or the Wayfarer if they've got a different shaped face that doesn't fit the Aviator. Both of those you can never go wrong with. But they have so many other styles as well. Styles including Prada, Dolce & Gabbana, Versace, Oakley, Burberry. They have something for everyone. They have such a wide range of sunglasses over there. And like I said, nobody is going to be upset if they get a pair of stylish shades. Of course, if it's a style they don't like, they can always go in and exchange it. The individuals and the teams that work at Sunglass Hut are nothing less than phenomenal. And you go in there and maybe pick out something for yourself as well. You can find all the shades of holiday at Sunglass Hut. And one of the best things about shopping at Sunglass Hut is you can find shades that are only available at Sunglass Hut. Just talk to their expert sales associates or try out their latest technology both online and in-store. It's got great service there. You'll never go wrong. So head over to Sunglass Hut and discover the special selection of shades in-store and on sunglasshut.com. There's the perfect gift for everyone this holiday. Head over to your nearest store or go online to sunglasshut.com and check out their unique selection of shades available only at Sunglass Hut. You're going to love what you find. Visit them in-store or online. Sunglass Hut is the destination for all your holiday gifting needs.
Branch Basics. If you have not gotten on board, I don't even know what to tell you. Clean without compromise. You do not want to be cleaning with products that are full of fragrance, hormone disruptors, and harmful preservatives. Branch Basics has you covered. It's free of all those things. It's safe enough to use around babies, pets. I know I'm a psycho because I have my son who's walking everywhere with bare feet. And I also have 2 little chihuahuas who are super close to the ground. So I want the cleanest, most non-toxic products as possible. I changed my entire life when I moved to Austin and made my home non-toxic, free of fragrance and hormone disruptors. And the first thing I did was switch all my products, and I mean all, to Branch Basics. They also just launched a luxurious gel hand soap. It's beautiful packaging, and it's made with the safest ingredients to nourish your skin. I tested really high for triclosan, which is in a lot of soaps. So it's really important to me to have a non-toxic soap available for my kids to wash their hands or to wash my hands after I do the dishes. Also, this is just like a weird tangent, but I don't want a bunch of toxic chemicals on my fresh gel manicure. You should know their premium starter kit replaces all your harmful cleaning products in the home. You can save 15% off your starter kit or their new hand soap when you use code SKINNY at checkout. I use my own code all the time. It's code SKINNY at checkout, branchbasics.com. Again, that's code SKINNY for 15% off when you purchase a starter kit or their new gel hand soap.
Quick break to talk about one of our favorite partners, Symbiotica. I am going to try to keep this concise, but I got to tell you, this may be a little bit longer than usual because I'm going to tell you a story about Symbiotica. I may be their very best customer. I think I actually use our own coupon code more than anyone, and I am not afraid to say it. So here's what I do. Every single morning in my coffee, I have their magnesium threonate. This is the magnesium that crosses the blood-brain barrier. It is nothing short of incredible. It makes my brain feel on fire, makes me feel good. I also sometimes sub in, instead of coffee, the matcha that Symbiotica Symbiotica makes. Then throughout the day, I'm taking the vitamin C, especially now to boost my immune system because we're in the season where every kid on the planet is sick. Also throw in a little bit of elderberry and their coated silver, which is going to just boost your immune function. At night, I am taking their magnesium spray, spraying it all over my body, getting the best night's sleep. I think their liposomal vitamins are the best on the market. We were speaking the other day at Columbia, of course, because I'm such a prestigious academic. And the students there said, do you actually use Symbiotica? And I reached into my pocket and pulled out a glutathione. The glutathione there is incredible. It's got PQQ in it. And I just can't stress enough how incredible this brand is. We've had all the founders on the show. We've had Shervin on the show, I think 4 or 5 times, might hold the record. I've mentioned the vitamin C, the glutathione, the silver, the elderberry. So if you want to try Symbiotica, there's no better time than right now. They're having a special holiday sale so you can try their amazing products at a great price. You can save up to 20% off site-wide with our code SKINNY. Just go to Symbiotica.com and use code SKINNY. Again, that's Symbiotica.com. Use code SKINNY.
You kind of learn that with trial and error. Like obviously, like the first time I was on the show, like I walked in and I was like, okay, what are people going to think of me watching this? But you genuinely can't be anything but yourself because you can lie to the people around you, but there's something about the camera that if you're lying, people immediately pick up on it. And it's just like a very odd thing.
Well, I think it's like people recognize like all the body like language and all of that stuff.
Yeah, so you really can't put on a persona too much. And also you have nothing to do with editing. Like we have nothing to do with it.
So how long are you filming for?
So we start typically the first weekend in July and we film every single weekend until Labor Day.
So your whole summer is there?
Wow.
Yes.
I didn't realize it was that long.
That's a lot of work.
I
For some
haven't
reason, I
had
thought this was like a 3-week thing.
Summer since I was 25.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Like you can never just charge off and go to the, you're in that house the whole time.
You're in that house just for the weekends. Then we're in the city during the week and we're filming during the week, probably like 2 days a week. So it's a full, it's
But
a
how much
full-time.
physical time do you have to actually be in that house from like from like just like a straight, like how many nights in a row do you have to stay in there when you're there?
2.
Okay.
Except there are times where we'll have a long weekend.
Okay.
Like, and we'll have a party. Like a 4th of July, we'll typically leave like that Monday.
Okay. I got it.
At what point do you meet Craig? And talk to me about your boyfriends before. Like, I want to know like the trajectory of the meeting of Craig. Like I saw you dating someone before Craig on the show.
So the reason I did the show, I was 25. I'll never forget this. I was dating a guy. We were on and off. It was like a classic mid-20s relationship that like changes you as a person. And he said to me, if you do this show, I'll never speak to you again.
Oh.
So I was like, and that's it. And I'm doing the show.
Well, also like that's so controlling.
It was a very 25-year-old vibe. It was like we would get back at each other, but it was kind of like the push I needed to feel confident to do it. And I'm so thankful for him.
Yeah, thank God he said that.
I should send a thank you note. And then 2 years into being on the show, I started dating my next boyfriend who didn't love the idea of his girlfriend or potential wife being on a reality show. And I understood it to a certain extent, except that he started dating me and I was already on the show. So it's like you knew what you were getting into type of thing.
Also, you had started to form your career outside of the show. Like there was a lot of opportunity.
It's just from your perspective, he like knew what he was signing up for.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And he was older than me and he wanted to settle down and I totally understood that. And ultimately, I just wasn't ready. We were in 2 totally different spots of our lives. I definitely contemplated not being on the show anymore and like getting engaged and kind of going in a different way. But I literally broke out into hives one night. And that was like my sign. I was like, wow, my body's really trying to tell me something. And we broke up like the next day. I just knew it didn't feel right. And then while I was dating him, we were filming an episode of Summer House. And it was Kyle's birthday. And Craig came to the birthday party. And that's where I first met him. But I had a boyfriend at the time, so we didn't really speak at all.
Did you think he was hot?
Had such a crush on him, but obviously knew who he was.
Well, yeah, but where is the Italian guy in all this?
He's not even around yet.
Got it.
He's nowhere to be found. Fast forward 2 years, we all do Winter House. Craig's in a relationship, so I don't even acknowledge him really. That's where the Italian guy comes in. That was his first season. And then a year later, me and Craig started dating, basically.
I get you and Craig so much. I get it. I think when you guys got together, I think you guys, I mean, you don't have to say anything, but I think you guys are 100% going to get married.
Thank you.
It's because I think what it was for me, this is so weird because I love my reality TV.
Mhm.
I've seen both of your shows separately. And so when you guys got together, it was like two friends that you set up that made sense.
Yes.
Like it just works.
Like when I met him, I just felt something different. And my mom even said when I would talk about him, I was like a classic, any date I would ever go on, I'd be like, oh my God, I just met my husband. Like I'm literally marrying him. And when I started talking about Craig, I didn't say any of that. And my mom was like, wait, I actually think this is real, because usually you'll call me and be like, oh my God, I met my husband. And she'll be like, oh, did he ask you any questions about yourself? And I'd be like, no. So then she's like, that's not your husband. And with Craig, it was just different. I can't explain it. It just felt different.
It kind of parallels with your friendship with Hannah. There's something comfortable about it.
Something so comfortable. And I think coming from a relationship where I was almost like embarrassed that I was on reality TV and almost felt like a little bit trashy that I was on it. And then to start dating someone who was like, oh my God, everybody loves you. You're so good. You're so funny. Like to just go from that to like this praise felt so different. And like for him to get, we basically have the same job, him to get certain things that I couldn't explain to someone who has never filmed a reality show. There's just certain things you wouldn't understand. And so like we had that going that I think was really important.
It did seem like, again, this is all as a viewer, but it did seem like the people you were with before Craig felt that they were like above reality television, sort of like an elitist and
a lot
almost
of people like
dismissive of what you were doing, which to me it's so crazy that someone can be dismissive of what you're doing because you've taken it and really ran with it with everything you're doing, which we're going to get to.
Yeah.
But there was like, you could tell there was like a dismissiveness towards you. And that makes total sense that because Craig was on a reality television show, he understood.
And I almost feel like now sometimes that's why I'm almost a little bit too intense with Craig, where I'm like, I'm not ready to get married. I want to like focus on my career for like a little bit longer, because I was in those previous relationships where I didn't ever like put myself first or my career first. And I feel like so strongly about it now being in my 30s. And Craig might get like, you know, the brunt of that a little bit. But it's so important to me to like be so independent because I had those relationships where I wasn't treated like an equal. I was very much treated like a girlfriend who's not as successful and like, yeah, she's just there.
I think a lot of really strong, confident, successful women can attract these men that try to put them back in the Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
And stuff them back in.
No, I don't think it's that as much as that.
Oh, here he goes.
No, I don't think it's like you're attracting those kind of men. I think a lot of men have a difficult time having a relationship with somebody who's potentially as successful or more successful than them. And it's like, I mean, if you think about like social constructs, I think a lot of people grow up with an example of like the dad being the breadwinner and the mom, you know, that's changed obviously. I think a lot of men just can't handle with the fact that maybe they're not the one that is going to be 100%. In the limelight or being the breadwinner. You know what I mean?
One of the first times I was recognized, like during Summer House, I was walking down the street with my previous boyfriend and this guy came up to me and he was like, hey, my girlfriend's such a fan of you. Like, do you mind if we took a picture? And it was the first time it had ever happened to me. And I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Like, yeah, absolutely. And I'll never forget my boyfriend said, oh, I thought they recognized me and were coming up to me.
Well, I am guilty of that too.
And I was like, wait, but this guy was not like, you wouldn't have known him like at all. I was like, what would they have known you for though? Like,
so he basically was like totally dismissing you and shitting on you to make himself look better.
So in that moment, I was like, wow, you kind of just ruined such a first time moment for me and made it about you. And I should have known then, but yeah.
No, Craig's the right guy.
Yeah.
So when you and Craig start dating, were you guys secretive about it? How did you go about like deciding what to do with that?
Yeah, so we had started dating.
Drop like a juicy soundbite that one of the tabloids will pick up.
See like if there's something I've never said before. We had started
Something
dating
scandalous.
in September, and people didn't really find out until like 2 months later. Really, and it was Bravo that was like, Winter House was coming out, and they were like, we would like for you to say it in press during Winter House press, because we hadn't said anything on Instagram.
I'm sure they would. Those pretty.
And we were kind of like, look, if you want us to, we will, but we kind of like that no one knows yet. So then finally, like, we did say it, but people didn't love it at first, which I'm actually kind of happy about, because I think it made Craig and I way closer in the beginning of our relationship than we probably would have been. Because we kind of had like an equal, we're like, oh, everyone kind of hates us.
What's the first date he takes you on? Like, what's the first moment that you guys fell in love? Like your first kiss? Like, what was your first things that you did that we didn't get to see as a viewer?
So we actually our first date legitimately was on camera, and they never aired it.
What?
Yeah. And we were so surprised by it, because I remember filming that scene and being like, wait, I can't wait to like watch this back. And they never aired the full thing. They did like a flashback to it. It was so bizarre. But so that our first date was legitimately on camera, and I was so nervous. Like, I remember putting like a dirty martini down on the table and my hands were shaking. Like, that's how nervous I was.
Why were you so nervous?
I think because like I also, not only was I filming this first date, but I was legitimately on a first date with someone, and like I liked him. And then to have like 8 people just watching it is like so nerve-wracking. And then you also think like, okay, like if this doesn't work out, like, am I embarrassing myself? Like, do I like him way more than he likes me? Like, what are people going to think? So you there's so many other things you think about rather than just like being nervous on a first date.
Were you on Summer House or Winter House when this is happening?
Summer House.
And does he ask you out? Like, how did we get to the date? Did he ask you out? Did he start
didn't ask
flirting
me out
with you?
on camera. No.
Okay.
Now I like can't even think how that even started.
Okay, I think gonna come on the podcast. We're gonna dissect it.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah. But prior to like filming that summer, I would say it was like May, like right before Memorial Day, and he called me and he was like, "Do you want to come down for the weekend?" And that was like the first time we had hung out by ourselves, and I stayed for the whole weekend. And then that summer we kind of talked, but he was doing his own thing, and then I was filming the show. I was kind of doing my own thing. And then by the time it was September, I'm not gonna lie, I gave him a little bit of like an ultimatum by the end of the summer.
They all need an ultimatum.
And I was like, look, we can either keep going, and that's fine. That's like lovely. That would be amazing. Or we can stop. You can stop doing what you're doing, and we can like legitimately date. So I was either like, we're dating, or like, I gotta go.
Good. I love an ultimatum.
Yeah.
When you go to, is it South Carolina or North Carolina?
South.
Okay, South Carolina.
God.
But
Southern charm.
Sorry, kind of, they're the same. Basically.
Wow.
There we go.
Okay, when you go to South Carolina and it's completely different from New York City, you can feel like that you're like, this is different.
Yeah.
What was that like? Because you're also like, it's like you're almost going from one reality show to another that has its own set of dynamics, and it's completely different energy and environment.
I'm going to be honest. I went to an all-girls high school, so I know when like a girl doesn't like me. And I think going down and filming Southern Charm, I was so nervous that the girls weren't going to like me because I was coming essentially like onto their show. I didn't want them to think like, okay, I'm coming on now, and like now this is my show. Like, I tried to keep a really like a boundary of how much I was getting involved in and how much of a presence I actually am on Southern Charm, because I didn't ever want anyone to feel like I was stepping on their toes. And also, it's hard to like make girlfriends in general, especially in your 30s. So I'm just always nervous about that, I think. Like, I never wanted the girls to dislike me. And I never wanted to like be too much involved in their show.
Or we didn't want it to touch your style.
And also like I am just like so different in how I dress.
The juxtaposition
It's
of that.
just like I'm like sometimes I'm like, come on, guys. Like figure it
What
out.
did you say on the show? You're like,
Sometimes like, how
What
did you
are
even
these
put
florals?
that together? Where do they sell that, honey? So it is like a little bit of an adjustment, but
what did you do when you saw Craig's fixer-upper?
his home.
Yeah.
So when we first started dating, you guys, I feel like watching the show didn't even see how like bad it actually was. Like the kitchen, there fully was no kitchen. Like it was a construction zone. And the kitchen was in the living room. And I remember like when we first started talking and like me visiting, he was so self-conscious about it and like thought that like I wasn't gonna like him because of it. And I was
Well,
like,
it needed a little bit of a feminine touch in there.
yeah, I was like, look, I don't care. Like we'll look back one day and be like, how fun when we like lived like this. But I knew he was like working
Will we, though?
toward like fixing it. But he needed me. Like if I didn't hire an interior designer and like get things going, we'd still have the same great couch.
I'm going to defend Craig because
Yeah.
me and Craig have a couple of similarities.
Okay.
Okay. I feel like Craig is one of those people that has to get really chaotic,
Mm-hmm.
but then likes to clean up the chaos. Do you know, like there's something that's like, I'm like this. Like
Yeah.
I love like a huge, disgusting slob closet
Yep.
bathroom situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like to go in and just like meditate
Organize
and
it.
therapeutically clean it up. And it's like perfect. And the reason I say that is because
No, but it's absurd because you turn around and say how messy I am if I have one thing out, and then what she does is creates
I like
this
to edit
chaos,
him.
and then she cleans it up and says, "Aren't you going to thank me?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"This was your shit."
But like the thing with Craig is like you could tell when like he was doing his sewing that like it made sense to him.
Yes.
The organized chaos
Yes.
made sense in his head, but to no one else. And I feel like he's done that with his sewing company.
Mm-hmm.
He's done that with his dating life.
Yep.
And he's done it with his home. It's like he fucks it up and chaoses it up to clean it up.
On this line of thought, I could just go fuck a bunch of stuff up and then clean up, and that's part of my process.
I always say to him, I'm like, the inside of your brain has to be exhausting. Like, there's just got to be so many things going on. He has in his closet, like, so many different piles of things, but knows exactly what are in those piles. And I'm always like, there's just no way that you know that. And I will agree, he is similar to you, but he doesn't like to clean it. But he likes when it gets cleaned, like and organized. And that's
Got it.
usually where I come in.
But how is it done with his company? Look what he's done with his company.
I will say the people that work at Sewing Down South are some of the best humans I've ever met. Like he genuinely has created such a family. Like everyone that started at the company, they're still there. Like they definitely have such a close, there's really only like 3 of them that are like running it.
I think
And
about
so
the
they're
coolest
very
thing that he
close.
did with that is, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like a lot of people didn't take that seriously
At all.
until it became what
Yeah.
it is now.
Even now, I feel like people will kind of give him a little bit of shit and be like, you know, you don't run it day to day, or you don't do this. And he's like, right, but I started it and it's here because of me. And like, yeah, no, I hire employees to do like certain things.
That's called smart delegating.
right. And so I think people try and like knock that, but that's just
No, I respect
ridiculous.
anybody that has a vision and can pull
Yeah.
it off, right?
Absolutely.
What's the differences between filming besides the camera everywhere, Summer House and Southern Charm? For someone who's a big reality
Yeah.
fan, like what give us some like behind the scenes of it?
I will say the schedule in general, like Summer House is, you gotta prep. Like when you know you're going in on Friday and you're not gonna not be filmed until Sunday, like you gotta really like prepare yourself. Like, okay, that's it. Like now you're working, like I'm filming. Where with Southern Charm, it's way more lax. Like Madison will come over for 2 hours, we'll chat, we'll gossip, and then that's it. They go home. Then you can like decompress in your own bed, like by yourself. So I actually prefer the way Southern Charm films because it is just like I feel like it's a little bit easier. And also I just hate packing for the weekend.
You're very serious about your style. I mean, really, you have really good taste.
Thank you. It's funny because everyone in Summerhouse, we all pack very differently.
How do you pack? Michael loves packing.
Like I pack for the weekend, where like Amanda and Lindsay, they'll pack for like the whole summer.
What?
So they'll like Amanda and Kyle will pack up their car that first weekend, pack everything, bring it out there, put it in the closet, and then that's like their summer wardrobe.
But what if I'm feeling different? I mean,
No,
I could never do that.
What if I need that shoe in the city? And I know it's in the Hamptons.
And also, like, I'm the type, you buy a little here, you buy a little there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, to do that sounds so overwhelming.
So exhausting. So I go weekend by weekend because we will get like a little bit of a schedule of like what we'll potentially be doing. So I go by event, and that's how I do my outfit.
What are the like style tips for someone who doesn't know where to start? Like, what are the essentials that they need to start with?
I think it's all about like having really good basics, and that's how you can figure out what your own personal style is. And I also think like your style can be different every single day. Like today, she's
business chic.
She's business chic. Tomorrow, she might be full grunge.
Yeah.
So like you can, if you feel good in it, I really do think like then wear it. Who cares? Like if it's trendy or not.
How do you dress for television? That would give me an anxiety attack. Yeah, because
so
something that looks
stressful.
so cute in like person
Does not look good
is
on
like
camera.
a stuffed sausage on camera.
I never thought that was real. Like, oh, you look different on camera. You 1000% look different on camera. It is definitely a thing. And I actually try and not wear a lot of black when we're filming Summer House because it just like doesn't pop on camera. It's kind of like, eh.
What about a print?
I'm not like a huge print girl in
We
general.
know. We know.
So like I feel like I don't really have to worry about it.
Okay.
But no, there are certain times where I'm like, oh, that's gonna look so good on camera. Like that's a great color, or you know, that does nothing for my body. I'm gonna look 10 pounds heavier in that on camera. Yeah, so there are definitely decisions that I make like that.
You have a lot of stuff going on off camera, which I want to talk about. You have a really successful podcast.
Thank you.
Also have this amazing thing going with Amazon. How did the Amazon thing start?
So the Amazon thing started actually my first year on Summer House. I had gotten fired from my ABC job at the production company. And because I'd technically signed a contract with NBC.
Got it.
And they were like, you actually can't work here also.
Okay.
But Summer House was like, we don't care that you got fired. They like never even like covered it. So no one even like knew that season that I had gotten fired. So I get fired and happened to be at a 4th of July party, like in the city. We weren't filming. It was like on a Monday. And I met this woman who worked at Amazon. And I told her I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. And I just started doing this reality show. She was like, oh, we just started this thing called Amazon Live. Do you want to come and be one of the models, like while the hosts talk?
And we saw this on the show. We saw you model for something on Amazon on the show.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
On my first season?
Or was it Sierra? We saw
I
one.
think it was, oh no, that's when I did Access Hollywood.
Okay,
that was like
go
years
ahead.
later.
Yes. You're right.
So I do this like Amazon Live thing as a model and no one knew about it. Like I didn't tell anyone on the show. I made like $200 from it. And every time they would call me, I would do it. And then like 2 months later, I was like, would you mind if I talked back to the host about like the item she's selling? And they were like, yeah, sure. And so they let me. And then a couple months later, I was like, do you mind if I like host something? And they were like, okay, we'll give you like a segment. And then fast forward, like now I have my own Amazon Live show. And now it's all like reality TV, which is so crazy.
I have basically changed every single thing about my hair in the last year and a half. So when I was postpartum, I noticed a lot of shedding and I got on board with fixing my hair and replenishing it. And how I did that was a couple things. I eat so much meat now, so a lot of amino acids. I do microneedling on my scalp. I switched from blonde overprocessed hair to brunette. I supplement. And then lastly, I use a really great hair serum and I do it with scalp massage. And the hair serum that I have been using for visibly thicker, fuller, and shinier, longer hair is Vegamore. I like this one because it doesn't have a bunch of harsh ingredients. It's this cute little pink bottle. I bring it everywhere and I do scalp massage as much as possible. And just like a side note, scalp massage is so amazing for the fascia in your scalp to support your skin from being tight. What I mean by that is when you're massaging the scalp, it's like pulling up your face. So don't sleep on scalp massage. I like to do it specifically with Vegamore's Grow Hair Serum, and I like to do it daily. And a fun fact, Vegamore sells 1 bottle of Grow Serum every 15 seconds on their website. That's how good it is. Give your hair the power of the little pink bottle with Vegamore. For a limited time, him and her listeners get 20% off their first order by going to vegamore.com/skinny and using code skinny at checkout. That's vegamore.com/skinny. Code skinny to save 20% off your first order. vegamore.com/skinny, code skinny. Let's talk about Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers is the #1 doctor-recommended weight management program and the trusted authority in evidence-based weight health. Beyond the science, joining Weight Watchers means you become part of a powerful, passionate community. They're all about community there. We got to learn all about that when we had the CEO on our podcast. The company's purpose is to always inspire healthy habits and lasting weight loss. So how they do this is they focus on behavior change, nutrition science, and real connections, while never giving up on the food that we all love. Personally, I really love how they've evolved their approach to weight loss over the years, and they're really like with the times, which I appreciate. Weight Watchers has helped millions of members on their journeys over the years, and recently they've launched Weight Watchers Clinic. And this provides support to even more people across the weight health spectrum. Most importantly, I think that Weight Watchers knows that weight management is not a one-size-fits-all thing. There are behavioral and biological factors to consider. So they really have a multifaceted approach when it comes to losing weight. Head to www.com/TSC to see if you qualify. If you do, use our code TSC25 to get your first month free. Plus, you get $25 off your second month. That's www.com/TSC. Another thing that I changed in my home when I moved to Austin was my dog's food. I wanted to get the most natural, fresh, healthy, wet dog food on the market. And I wanted something that literally had human food safety standards. So enter the farmer's dog. This is the best option for dogs at all life stages because it's not kibble, it's not canned goo, it's real healthy food. So a lot of these dog foods on the market I found are highly processed and they have low quality ingredients. I don't know about you, but my dog is like my child and I want them to have the best of the best. So when the farmer's dog arrived at my doorstep, I was so happy because everything about the food that they have has benefits. So from a healthier coat to skin to better breath to easier digestion, smaller, better poops. 2 things I've noticed is Boone's breath is like amazing now, which is so weird to say. And I also notice, especially in Boone, that he doesn't have weepy eyes anymore. He used to have these like really wet eyes and I would use all these products on it and it never worked. So finally, I don't have to use anything because I just changed his food. The farmer's dog is a total no-brainer. You have to check it out. They have such a good deal for you. Get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/skinny. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/skinny to get 50% off. That's thefarmersdog.com/skinny. And also, I feel like you're a tastemaker of what to get on Amazon. Like I've gone to your page and like there's like a link section on your highlights and like you have all these really cool curations of like what to get.
I think because like how I really did start with like Instagram was showing my outfits that I was wearing to my corporate job every day. And I was right out of college. I was literally making like $2. Like I couldn't afford any clothes, but I wanted to look chic when I was going to work. So I've always been that like on a budget. Is there a dupe for it? Like how can you style it and it look expensive? So I think I just like so resonate with Amazon in general that it feels more authentic when you're buying something on my storefront.
And what about your podcast with Hannah? How did that come about? And do you guys always get along? You guys are doing all these live situations. Like, how does that work?
Hannah truly is, like, there are just those people in your life that you meet and you're like, no, that's my soulmate. Hannah is that to me, for sure. Right when I met her, I knew we were going to be best friends. We met actually at the Betch's offices, like in the elevator shaft. I got out of the elevator and she was the first person to greet me, and I'll never forget that moment. So we started Giggly Squad because we just felt like on Summer House, we had formed such an intense friendship and you never kind of really saw it. And they would show like little clips or whatever. But then once COVID happened and we were in that era of like everyone going live, like everyone and their mom was like live on Instagram.
Era.
It was a weird
Creepy
era.
Yeah.
Who was that one rapper that like had like one of the craziest, whatever. But like that was like the era we were in. And we were like, okay, we'll do this. Our show was airing. People hadn't seen it before and there was nothing else to watch. So like everyone was watching Summer House. So we would go live after the episodes. And then once the show was over, Hannah was like, well, we have nothing else to do. Let's just like keep going live. So we went live every single night from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. for 3 months. Then we went into Summer House, filmed that season, got out of Summer House and said, okay, let's just like make this into a podcast. We make it into a podcast. And then kind of for the next, now we've been doing it for like almost 4 years. So the like next 3 years, we're just like doing a podcast and we just started doing our live shows, which is like, have you guys done a live show yet?
We have not.
No, you have
know,
to.
That's so much work though.
We've
It's
done
a lot.
It's so fun though.
It is.
Here's
And,
the
like,
thing. I don't
you
think
get
we're
energy like
like,
off the audience.
yes.
we'll go speak. Like we just like spoke at an
Yeah.
event, but it wasn't a podcast. And I feel like with the way that we do this,
Yeah.
I don't know if it always translates to
How
live.
do you do it on like? How do you take what you do here and pull it to stage?
Or I feel you guys like have a little bit of like a performing thing going on as
ours
well.
is a little bit more like comedy. So I
Yeah.
think it's a little easier.
Yes.
But like to be able to like meet the people that listen to you,
Yeah, that's cool.
you genuinely feel like they're your, like you know them. Because you're like, oh, we like think about things in the
You know,
exact
like
same way.
Yeah.
the also the reason is like I tell people like technically this
Yeah.
podcast is just like a side thing.
Yeah.
Even though it's like a, you know, it's become
Right.
something, but
Right.
like day to day, I'm running the company and then she's
Yeah.
running her company. And I think it's
Right.
like to commit to be like, we're going on the road. and
No,
we're doing-
I get it.
and then the kids are at home. And it's like, not that we don't, I think at some point for
Yeah.
sure we'll consider it.
At one point, you should just do like one show just for like people to meet you and like be in person with you. And like you would be, like you guys would be able to do it. Get like whoever your favorite guest has been, have them as a special guest and just like talk to them.
Okay.
And people would love it. Like they really would. All they want to see is you.
I think we just
like,
have to wrap our heads
They
around
almost like
committing to
don't
it.
even care what you're talking about. It's just like a fun night where they're like getting to meet you and getting to like hang with you.
No, I love it. I think it's really cute. It's so overwhelming with 2 children.
No, I
under
can't
3.
imagine.
That's because it's like, do you bring them or do they stay? And then it's just
No, there
like,
was a
it's
company
lot
they
of
put together like a
logistics.
big proposal
Yeah.
about this like tour, and I was like trying
Yeah.
to logistically plan it, and then I just
I will say I would never thought I would have been able to do it without Hannah. And her being a stand-up comedian does really help.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
and when we started the podcast, in no situation did we think we would be in the comedy section of podcasts.
Huh.
Like that wasn't like a goal at all. Like we just kind of started talking to each other and it happened to be funny. So to now like to be performing at the New York City Comedy Festival with like legitimate comedians is just one of the craziest things. And that's how it's like, it's so true. You have no idea what could happen in your career. Like anything.
But don't you feel like because you guys are in that world of comedy, there's like a little bit of a performance thing, and like people don't have to be as serious. Like someone doesn't need to
Absolutely.
come on here and like learn about their resting heart rate live, right?
Right.
Like,
No, that's
No,
true.
we
You know
have
what I
to
mean?
bring you bring. But what she's saying is, you bring a guest who is good with comedy.
Yeah,
on.
like it could be
I get
just
it.
like a fun night. It doesn't have to be like a full comedy
You can show your penis.
like we do.
Yeah, like do something fun. Like you could strip on stage.
listen,
like
if
Actually, I want you guys to come to a Giggly Squad show,
We would
and then
love it.
I promise we'll
see, like I would do that because that's different, and I wouldn't feel the pressure to.
wait,
Right.
come on the show or watch.
I
the
want
show?
you to come and watch to
Yeah.
see like what it is,
I wanna
and then
watch.
we'll brainstorm your show because
Okay.
I feel like you definitely if you don't have to go on tour either. You can do one show in LA
and just try it.
and just try it.
You're opening up my mind.
We like if the wheels start to fall off this thing, I'm gonna skip all the live shows and we're going straight to OnlyFans, Lauren and I.
No,
And I
I
feel
get
like
it.
I feel like honestly, if I was smarter and a little less shameless, I would be like, let's get on there and go.
OnlyFans. Okay.
Yeah, I bet the revenue would be.
no, it's insane.
Yeah.
They deserve it. No, they work hard. I couldn't imagine.
They do deserve it. when Hannah got kicked off, and actually I want to like make sure she got kicked off. Is kicked off the right word?
Yeah.
Okay. When Hannah got...
Why'd she get kicked off?
She got fired,
Oh,
basically.
got fired.
When
Okay.
Hannah got fired off the show, what was that like for you? Who's her best friend? You end up going into business with her. You guys are building a podcast. Like that would put you in a very weird spot.
It put me in a really weird spot because, and I will say, I think about this probably the most of any moment that I've been on reality TV. I have a lot of regrets from that season. I think about how I could have been a better friend to Hannah. I could have been a better friend to Amanda. I think about how I was in the middle and how could I have changed the outcome of Hannah not returning that next season. And I think about that a lot, but then also I think everything happens for a reason, and in no situation would Giggly Squad be what Giggly Squad is had Hannah not been fired from that season. So, because it just put us in a totally different area of our friendship. We no longer were on the show together, which means we didn't really have certain animosity that comes with like being on a reality show, even though we never had that before. We were always so close, but Giggly Squad just would not have taken the form that it took had that not happened. So I'm thankful for that. But also I do think about that time a lot of how maybe I shouldn't have been so Switzerland and tried to be in the middle. And I should have stuck up for Hannah, and I should have stuck up for Amanda, and I should have maybe talked more or said certain opinions. And I just always think back and like felt bad for what Hannah went through that whole year, because that was probably one of the toughest years.
Yeah,
ever.
it was intense to watch.
It was intense.
But she's also with Giggly Squad and with what she does as a comedian.
Yeah, I mean,
And she's flourishing. So it's like you're
beyond
right.
successful.
It's good it happened.
Yeah, but I think about it. I think about it a lot.
How have you taken all of these things that you've done and sort of created your own future? Because I think that's one of the most interesting things about you is like a lot of people just go on reality television and like that's it, and that's fine. But you've like really like laid a map out.
Yeah. I think part of it is, and I feel like I've talked to a lot of people who are like about to go on a reality show or like thinking about it. And I've had friends like call me like, what's your advice? Like, what do you think I should do? And I always give the same advice. And I always say, do it, because you don't want to wake up in 5 years and wonder, what if I did it? How would my life be different? And before you film that first scene, what is the end goal that you want from this show?
That's good advice.
Like, so this I think is why Hannah and I bonded so much. Going into Summerhouse, I always knew like, okay, I don't want to be on reality TV for the rest of my life, but I want to be established enough so that after I'm on reality TV, you still know who I am and you're still buying whatever I'm selling, or you're still tuning into whatever I'm doing. And at the time it was like Amazon Live, and it was being a fashion influencer. And obviously that's like changed a little bit as the years have gone on. But I think if you're just going on a reality show to go on a reality show, you're going to lose yourself. Like you're going to lose your personality and what you were there for in the beginning. So I think having a plan of what you want from it is probably the best advice I could give.
Yeah, if you just kind of go on it and you get like addicted to your press clippings and like there's no end goal, that can be really toxic, because at any time you could be kicked off.
And it's so easy to get like sucked into that. I had a producer tell me like the first year I was on, he was like 50% of people are going to be obsessed with you. They're going to love you. They're going to die for you. And the other 50 is going to absolutely hate your guts. Anything you do, they're going to hate it, no matter what it is. And he was like, but the great part about it is neither of those sides are right, because neither of those people know you. And that stuck with me for so long. And I was like, wait, you're so right. So if like I've gone through times where like people have absolutely hated me on the show. And I've had to like take inventory of like, okay, are my friends mad at me and are my family mad at me? And if the answer is no to both of those, then I kind of like have to kind of forget it. Cause I'm like, it's nothing for me to do.
Do you just stay out of the comments and the DMs?
You have to.
You
really
just don't
have
even look.
to. I mean, there are definitely days. I'm obviously a human. There are definitely days where I'm like deep in them and I'm like, how could that person say that? But I will give myself credit, like as the years go on, as I get older, it's less and less kind of a part of my life, like the comments and what people could say.
The problem with reading all that stuff too, as I think about this a lot, is like it sways the way you'll behave, or it sways the way that you'll
100%.
actually share your opinion. Right? And in the beginning, when we started doing this, I used to like think about like, oh, what do they want to hear and what is the feedback? But like the problem is that I have to be able to have a conversation with you without thinking about that.
Yes.
You know
And
what I mean?
that's the biggest thing on reality TV. You have to have a conversation and be yourself and not think about how are they going to edit this?
Mhm.
Like sometimes I'll film something and I'll be like, damn, are they going to spin that where I look like such a bitch? But I'm like, I can't worry about that. Like tell her how you really feel. Like how would you do it like authentically? So you kind of have to like put it out of your head.
Yeah, and I also just like doing this for as long as we've done it now, you just realize that like people care way too much about themselves anyway to actually pay
Right.
attention to you for that long, right?
No, that's so true.
Like it's like at the end of the day, it's just like,
When everyone's going to sleep at night, they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
So,
I mean, I like to think that they're thinking about me, but you
well,
know, but yeah,
Maybe
no,
some are thinking
I just
about your
think
hairline.
that everything is. People are way more concerned about themselves than they
Yeah.
are about what anyone else is. I even think like in personal relationships, I just like with that
Absolutely.
perspective, I just like don't get bothered anymore.
right.
What are we in store for with Summer House? Because this is, I mean, what's just happened with
Right.
Lindsay and Carl
Mm-hmm.
is intense. My first question, because it's like two-pronged question.
Mhm.
Did you know that was going to happen, or was that out of nowhere for you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I had no idea that they were going to break up.
And
I
so,
don't think either of them really did either.
so it was. If you don't know what we're talking about, you need to watch the show,
I'm
Michael.
gonna nod my head. No, I
Carl
know
and
who
Lindsay,
I know who Lindsay and
were
Carl are.
going to get married in
Yeah.
like a couple weeks or
Yeah.
something. Like
I know who
everyone
they
had
are.
booked flights.
I know who they are, but I'm just not up
for
to
their
speed with what.
wedding, and were set to go get married in a couple weeks. Broke up, which is
Yeah.
like
Okay, but
crazy.
so here's what I'm saying. I'm sure this is a big issue, but when I hear about it in the context of like, it just to me it sounds like a couple broke up.
No, but it's not.
You
It's
know?
for the show. It's
But I
in
get it,
the
I get it. I'm
ecosystem
saying
of the show.
the
I think
drama
that-
is heightened.
Oh,
I think
Watch
the
the show.
thing that people are freaking out the most about is like in the Bravo world, when you hear that cameras came back up, like that's just a phrase that people are like, oh, it must be so juicy. Like we were done filming and then they brought cameras back up.
is that
So-
true? I didn't.
Yeah,
hear
so
that.
we were done filming our season and then all of a sudden we get a call like we're filming again. Cameras are back up and they broke up and called off their wedding.
But is it just like, did they grow apart? I think
We don't know. We have to find out.
I will say like if and when you watch the season, like when it comes out.
No, I told you now
it
that I've met you,
will-
I'm going to be tuned in with a pen.
Yeah,
I'm
you'll
going to be taking notes.
definitely
I'm going to be fighting in the
see-
comment sections
Damn
with
straight.
trolls.
You'll see the ins and outs of their relationship, what their problems were, what they fought about, what they didn't. And I think like things will make more sense, but I can't say truly what it was because obviously like I'm not in their relationship, but
Do you think Craig is going to want you to move to South Carolina?
I think Craig, I give him a lot of credit because he doesn't pressure me about moving ever. Like he'll rarely bring it up.
But he misses you. You can tell.
Yes, but I think he wants us to have a family and it be in Charleston. So I think whenever
Can you imagine the pillows?
the baby, like I would go into I would make him do all like baby bedding and like we would
Yeah.
go full baby. So I think until I get the feeling of like, oh, I'd like to have a child, it won't really be a thing of like when I'm moving.
I think how you're handling it is perfect. It's like there's no rush. You obviously met someone who from the outside looking in looks like a soulmate. Like you don't need to like.
And I truly feel like until I have children and they have to go to school, we don't have to be in one place like
You
the
have time. I mean,
whole time.
we
you
bounce,
know?
we bounce around, right?
Right. So it's
I didn't
like-
move in with him until I was engaged. I waited. And
Yeah.
here's the reason I didn't do it. He had like this like bachelor pad, like beautiful house. And he wanted me to move in. I was living in my cute like studio apartment that I
Yep.
loved. Everything was on my
You
own
were living in
terms.
your Barbie dream house.
It was like
Yeah.
all organized and labels were out and it was perfect and pristine, like
Yeah.
cute studio. And he wanted me to move into his house. And I always was like, I don't want to move my stuff into your house and then it becomes my towel is on your floor
Yes.
because it's your house and I'm taking over your closet.
Yep.
Like there's an energy of like moving in with someone where it's still their house.
Yeah, but now we've moved in together and my towel, you say, is on my floor. But it's our fucking house.
Everything's mine still. But
that's why I felt so adamant about getting Craig an interior designer, because I was like, I need to feel like I'm decorating your home.
Mark your territory.
Or it's going to feel just like yours.
Yes, that was really smart to do, because it's like you have a part in it.
I think on this topic, like I think it's okay to have like a little bit of a courtship period and also like live apart for a bit and
Absolutely.
then slowly.
It's sexy.
But sometimes people like not to judge people, but like people rush into a lot of like heavy life decisions.
I agree.
You know?
And I like a list. I like a plan. I like to know like what we're doing. I'm not someone that like rushes into major decisions like that, like uprooting my life and moving somewhere, or like buying a house together, buying a car together. Like that's so not me. So I like taking it a little bit slower.
People gave Lauren and I a lot of shit for a long time. I remember it was like, oh, when are you getting engaged? And then when
There's
you're
like
engaged,
this
like when are you
weird
getting
energy
married?
about it.
When are you moving in? And I think
when are you getting engaged?
Yeah,
it's
and
so bizarre.
we knew that we had a really strong thing for a long
Yeah.
time. And our perspective, we got together young. So I was like, listen,
Yeah.
we're gonna be together, but we wanted to like kind of have, even though we were not single, we wanted to have the 20s and the early 30s to like do things that people our age do.
No, I say it all the time. I'm like, when people ask me like, okay, are you moving or are you getting engaged? And I feel like it's like such a dumb answer, but I'm like, I love my life. Like I love my life the way it is right now. I don't want to change it yet.
Totally
Listen,
get
they're gonna
that.
ask
I
you
totally get it.
once you get married, they're gonna say, do you have a kid? They're gonna say, when's the second? People just go get busy, you know, go figure your own shit out.
Right.
No, but there is that undertone always with that question of like, when are you getting engaged? It's like exhausting. It's exhausting.
And then I think you get to a point where people are like, enough of you. Just stop talking to us about your
The thing
thing.
that I feel bad for Craig is because I'm the one that is kind of like, oh, I don't want to move yet. Oh, I don't want to get engaged yet. I feel like because I'm the woman, people will take it and be like, she doesn't even like him. She doesn't love him. Like he should move on. And that always makes me feel so bad for Craig, because I'm like, I don't ever want that to be like the narrative in the public, because that is like mean to you, even though he knows that's so not like what it is. But I always feel bad that like people say that, because I don't want it to like hurt his feelings. But really, if the roles were reversed and he was the guy being like, I'd love to like focus on my career a little and I don't want to move yet, and let's just keep doing what we're doing, everyone would be like, he's got his head on his shoulders. He is, look at him just being mature
Or
adults.
they might also say like, this guy doesn't take this person seriously and is pushing her, like wasting her time. Like, listen, you cannot win.
Right. No, you literally can't win at all.
I will tell you though, like my intuition, it's very interesting to see him on Southern Charm with you, because his whole vibe has changed.
Yeah.
You can tell when he's like going out on the show, it's like he has a guard up of like, he is not like looking.
Right.
There's an energy with like Austin where like when he was with someone on the show, you can still tell he's looking.
Right.
He's looking around like a bloodhound. Craig's not looking anymore. Craig's closed.
Yeah.
Craig's closed for business.
Craig is to his core like a family guy. Like Craig can't wait to be someone's dad and like be like have that like core family.
He's got like a teddy bear side.
Yeah, like he's ready for that next step, I think. And I mean, we talk about it all the time of like our our future children and stuff like that. And he's so close with his family. And that's one of the things that is like top on my list of how he is with his family, how he is with my family, and how excited he is to one day like be a family guy.
But you'll pick the name.
No, I told him he can do dogs. He can pick dog names.
You got to pick the name.
Like anytime he suggests something, I'm like, and that sounds amazing for a puppy.
I think too, it's been fun to watch his other counterpart, Austin, now in therapy. So it's just, it's different roads.
Yeah. They've gone on, they have different paths, different timing.
I feel like that environment down there, because we spent some time in Charleston. It's just like, it's kind of like a crazy environment.
I've spent
like,
time in Charleston. I don't even know if
you
it's
don't
in
have to
north or
like
south.
maybe grow up as much, maybe in some ways.
There's so many more women than there are men. And it's such a college town that people end up just like staying from college. So I feel like they don't ever leave that like collegey mindset because they're still living in the same city. Like, because Craig went to college there and he's been there ever since. And so, yeah, their nightlife is definitely a little more juvenile than like going out in New York City or going out in LA.
Yeah.
It's been fun to see it through your eyes.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. Paige, where can everyone find you? Pimp yourself out. Tell us where we can buy what you're doing, see what you're doing on Amazon. Give us all the things.
Okay, so Giggly Squad's out every Tuesday wherever you listen to your podcast. And then my Instagram and TikTok is just at Paige DeSorbo. And then I have new Amazon Lives every week.
Paige, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for
Next
having
time you
me.
come on, I'm manifesting that you come on with Craig.
Yes.
Or with Hannah. Either one.
Yes.
And you guys, we can do like a little round table.
They fight with each other because Hannah's my boyfriend.
They
but so
can
is
rock,
Craig.
paper, scissors for it.
Hannah's my husband. Craig is my boyfriend.
I love it. Love it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Paige.